Good afternoon, and welcome to Advanced Trading's live reaction to the USDA report, which was released today at 11. We've seen a lot of excitement in the bean complex over in the past 2 weeks, or I should say about 1 week, with the announcement from our president that we're going to ship more beans to China. Unfortunately, today we did not see much excitement in the report numbers. And the end of the day, the change before the report was about equal to the change we closed at on this afternoon. So very little new news, but we are going to dissect what we did see and what we might see going forward. So to start off, Luke, for the 7th report in a row, we have seen exports go higher. What do you think's going on there? Demand appears to be extremely good, but unfortunately from the market, supply appears to be extremely good as well. What are we seeing moving forward, and what could lead to some more volatility in corn?
In the corn balance sheet today, they took up exports another 100 million. And of course, that's a record by far, and they, as you mentioned, they continue to increase the corn export program. And rightfully so, when you look at our export pace on a week-to-week basis, we continue to see very strong liftings. We had a little bit of a hiccup here with some of the extreme cold weather and some of the river situations that we had where it closed down some barge movement. But when you look at on a week-to-week basis, I think this past week on Monday when they released the inspections report for a total for the year, we're at 1.3 plus billion bushels so far. Compare that to last year at the same pace, we were just a little over 900 million. So we continue to ship an aggressive pattern. This 100 million bushel increase today means that will need to continue to happen. And when you look at just the sheer size of a crop, when you look at last year's crop size and the carry-in, you got over 18 billion bushels. So we're in the process of becoming the #1 exporter, and we will continue to hold that spot. We'll get some competition that maybe Cesar will talk about from our Southern Hemisphere friends, but it continues to show that, we are on a pace, and the USDA adjusted for the pace that we're at by this 100 million. The one thing I will mention, where does the balance sheet potentially change down the road? Again, we could see more exports, but one number that continues to be talked about is the aggressive number they're using on the feed and residual. Big crops usually translate into very large feed and residual numbers, but I think they'll wait for future stocks reports. We'll get one again in March on the March 1 stocks, where they may start balancing out or seeing a need to change some of those feed numbers. But again, time will tell on that.
Yeah, very good.
Yep.
I think it says a lot, and that demand is as strong as it is, and that we have 18 billion bushels of supply, and yet our carryout is only 2 billion.
Yep.
That still burns some, but with that much supply, we are absolutely chewing through this stuff.
Yeah, and that'll come into play as we get further down the road. We start talking about, acres and planning and conditions, and will we eat into that number and eventually drop under 2 billion? That's again something that we'll watch going forward.
Yeah, very good. Shifting gears to beans. On the bean balance sheet today, we saw zero change on the supply or on the demand side. Extremely calm after what happened last week with the announcement with China. But Brazil did see the USDA raise its production by 2 million metric tons. Argentina was left unchanged. Cesar, do you feel that crop has much room to grow from here? And what other items are you watching? We also noticed a couple weeks ago, we saw a lot of dryness in Argentina and southern Brazil. Is that still something to keep an eye on, or is that kind of working its way out with a few timely rains?
That's a good question, Jeremy. After an exciting week last week, right, with a lot of volatility, we were expecting some changes in the balance sheet world or U.S. balance sheet, and didn't see anything. Yes, you're right. I think attention now is going to be focused more in South America, and also what can come next with the announcements that we may see here in the U.S. about exports. But the increase in Brazil production of 2 billion metric tons is in line with what I've been seeing in Brazil. 180-ish is about what I see most of my contacts in Brazil are saying. There is, of course, a lot of there's production everywhere in Brazil. There's always parts of Brazil where there is a drought or too much rain. Too much rain now in central Brazil, Mato Grosso, is said to be reducing quality of the grain going forward. But I think the bushels are going to be there. Maybe cheaper bushels, as we said before. But in Argentina, on the other hand, even though the USDA kept the production estimate unchanged, there are some productions that just are higher than the USDA's, but some analysts are already reducing their estimates because of drought and heat in Argentina. So that could be something that we can see going forward, lower production in Argentina. And Brazil, I think it's a good number. 180 sounds like a good number for Brazil production for 25-26. They did not change exports after increasing export by 1 million metric ton, if I'm not wrong, from last month. 114 is a strong number, very strong number. And with a big crop, you can expect a lot of exports. But the main question you're going to have now is Brazil going to export? Brazil exports a lot to China. And the export numbers from January in Brazil, we saw a reduction of the share of how much Brazil is exporting to China, even though the exports to China increased in January versus last year. Are they looking for new destinations? That's a question you have to look for. If China imports more U.S. beans, Brazil is probably going to reduce their exports to China, and those bushels from Brazil are going to be looking for new destinations. So there might be some competition for us going forward to other markets, non-China markets.
Oh, very nice. And to expand on that a little bit deeper, did the outlook for Ukraine exports change much in the past few weeks? Are we seeing any changes on their
for exports for corn?
Exactly, when they're shipping their grain?
I didn't follow the destinations for Ukraine, but it's another wild card you have to look forward, right? I don't know what the situation is going to happen. We saw that in 2022, a lot changed. I don't think it's going to be the same situation for change in Ukraine, but the situation in the Black Sea with exports and also production for the next crop year in Ukraine, Russia, is something we need to look for. That could replace some of our exports markets for corn here in the U.S.
Oh, very nice. Mm-hmm. Well, shifting gears a little, and the high is 51 here today in Bloomington, and it really makes us think about spring and spring planting. I believe the earliest planting date for corn is April 5th, which is going to be here before you know it, and I'm sure farmers have a heck of a lot on their mind getting ready for planting. But Luke, what are some thoughts farmers should be looking at in regards to their marketing as they're getting ready to put this crop in the ground?
Well, currently, of course, one part of the marketing is we're in the February timeframe, of course, where they're setting the initial price on the insurance products for their crop insurance. So, I mean, that's something that we talk about that the market somewhat follows, and we kind of use that as a benchmark as far as where they think their coverage begins with some of these insurance products that they sign up for. So we're going through that time frame that'll be calculated as we go through the month of February. The other thing that'll happen is, you mentioned, as we get into the time frame where we just get ready to go in the field. And remember, Jeremy, there's already corn planted in the U.S. If you go to far southern Texas, there's corn planted in the ground and starting to come out of the ground. So we've started the crop year already. But the reality of it is, majority of this is over the next couple of months. I think what the farmers, as they go through this preparation to get ready to go in the fields, is what crop do they need to move, what sales need to be made, and consider where you get your offers in. See if we get a spike in the market where they may hit some of those offers, especially on some new crop offers. You've got new crop beans over $11 again as we close today. We just need to get corn a little life into it, like beans have seen the last couple of weeks here. But if we could get, some targets hit, and reownership continues to be very cheap, especially when you look at corn volatility, and reowning with some type of call strategy continues to be a very good strategy. We talk about that a lot, but it continues to be one of those strategies that allows us to sit back, make the sales, create the maybe some cash flow, and also go out and see what happens as we get into spring and summer. So you can still look into the May and July as substitute call options to replace those sales. I like that. And then target some new crop offers that you're looking at, that especially if we get values above where your break-even price is, where you want to get some of that marketing started and get more aggressive on it if the market does continue to rally in the new crop.
I really do like that idea of selling the old crop, providing the cash flow, reowning with a very cheap relative to historic value call, because volatility is so low, at least on the corn side.
Yep.
Even on the bean side, it's not crazy expensive. One strike out on the money for July is trading in the low 30s right now. That's cheap insurance in case something does change relative to the exports to China, which is what created the rally in the first place. So with that, as we get deeper into the growing season in the U.S., we sometimes forget we're in the heart of the growing season in South America, sitting up here in the central U.S. What are some of the black swans that you think we could see in the coming 3, 6, even 9 months as we get through this growing season?
See, South America has a different growing season than we, of course. So now Brazil is harvesting their beans. Argentina is still to be harvesting their beans and corn, right? Brazil is harvesting their first corn crop, but the second corn crop, we still don't know what's going to happen, right? The USDA is now at 131 million metric tons for Brazil, and the most part of that 131, maybe higher. Estimates are actually higher than that for most analysts in South America. Most of this production is going to be still they're planting right now, the second corn crop. So the growing season for the second corn crop in Brazil is critical. You're going to be watching what's going to happen through the mid of February, when the ideal planting window for Mato Grosso especially occurs. So since they're planting the second corn crop, there's a lot of uncertainty regarding weather. So far, things are good in most parts of Brazil. Actually, there's a lot of rain happening in Mato Grosso, which is kind of delaying a little bit their soybean harvest. So a black swan could be weather, especially in Brazil. And in Argentina, maybe some changes in Argentina estimates going forward also. And of course, the export market, we don't know what's going to happen in the future, as I mentioned before, with both corn, mostly coming from Argentina. Brazil has been, domestic demand in Brazil has been very strong for corn, so they are not exporting as much as they export like 2 years ago. They were first in exports in the world, but Argentina has a good year. How big that's going to be, that could be something we have to keep looking into, and there might be a black swan there also. But the main thing I think now is for the Brazilian second corn crop. We need to watch the weather and take advantage of cheaper options right now, because you don't know, could be a very good crop. I think there is room for the USDA to increase their estimates from 131 to a higher number, maybe 4 or 5 million metric tons above that.
Oh, very nice. Well, we do appreciate everybody tuning in today. As a reminder, the next WASDE report is March 10th, and the planting intentions report would be March 31st. So a couple of big reports coming in the next month. And we are getting closer to the harvest season. Please be safe. Safety first, and make sure everybody finishes the way they started in this planting season. And as always, we would love to get to know you. If you're not a customer already, please give us a call, and we will get you in touch with one of our brokers. Thank you very much.